the yes daddy. Like you meet him and you're like, oh yes, daddy. I'll do
Love it.
it. And then you meet the person and he's like the boy, please. Like, no, you way out there. I'm not even worried about what you want. You're asking for too much. Boy, please.
All right, well, you're listening to Spicy Bananas podcast where nothing is off limits and every conversation gets a little cheeky, a little deep, and a whole lot real.
It's going to get real today. Real today. We're your hosts, B1 and B2, two mates who've sold vibrators and had the awkward mics or combos behind the counter. Now we're going to have them on the mic today, and we're going to talk uncomfortable combos, feeling deliciously normal.
Normal? Us.
Yeah.
Normal. Okay. Let's give it a go. Reinvention, dating after divorce, breaking cycles, shame and reclaiming a vibrant second half of life. Today's guest is a nationally recognized educator, best-selling author, and the host of Zen Energy podcast. After 2 divorces and a full spiritual and romantic evolution, including over 170 dates and a deep dive into ancient traditions, they've turned their journey into a wildly empowering message on mindset, reinvention, and finding your sexy self again. Zen Ase.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Yes.
I wrote that. Welcome.
Thank you.
so
That was
much.
a wonderful introduction. I love it.
Oh, we do our best.
Yes.
We rock the
did an
mic. We
awesome
rock
job.
the mic right.
We try to.
Yeah.
Yes.
With a little bit of quirkiness in between.
Yeah, well, look, you're an author, artist, Zen Energy podcast, Zen Gems, Whole Family Tales book series, plenty of guppies, memoir in poetry, motivational workshops, Facebook. My lordy, you are a busy little lady, aren't you?
I can be very busy sometimes, and then there are other times when I just have to take a break from everything and do next to nothing because I've burned myself out a little bit. So I'm trying not to do that as much.
Yeah. Well, you've had one hell of a transformation. What was the moment you realized I'm not living for anyone else anymore?
Well, it came before my divorce. When I decided to get a divorce, it was going to be my second one. And so I decided, okay, if I'm doing this a second time, I really need to totally leave behind everything that got me here and reevaluate everything, not just the marriage, not just the relationship, but my whole mindset, everything. And that means I've really got to live for me. I can't go based on what I was conditioned to believe, what society tells me, what my parents, grandparents, friends, can't do any of that. I've got to toss all that out and start over again. So that was kind of the deal I made with myself. If I'm going to get divorced again, I'm starting over, really starting over.
Yeah, well, it's breaking that tradition, right? So when we grew up, excuse me, it was you get married, you have children, you live together, you support your husband, you're there for him. It's such a stereotype thing that we don't need to be living by because we can live uncomfortably that way also. How did your past shape your dating life, and what had to be unlearned for you to totally enjoy it?
Well, I didn't date very much in high school and college because I was raised Catholic and then non-denominational. And in that kind of, I guess, world, they push this rose doctrine, like you are a rose as a young lady. And if you give your sexuality to men, they're basically pulling off all your petals and all you have left is a stem and some thorns. You have nothing to give. So when I told men that I was celibate, that kind of narrowed my dating prospects quite a lot even in the church.
That'll do
And
it.
so I didn't go out very much, like I said, in high school or in college. So I basically had maybe 2 guys that I dated, and they were pretty much the same person in terms of like they were very religious. They were very, they were very traditional, like what I had been raised around. So that, again, when I said I'm going to do something totally different, I said, okay, I got to get rid of all of these ideas about sex and my worth. And, because coming out of that second divorce, I actually felt kind of worthless. I didn't have any high self-esteem, but I wanted to rebuild my self-esteem. So there was, like I said, so much unlearning. And so in deciding to take a risk and say, okay, I am beautiful. I am worthy. Now let me see what other kind of men there are out there,
Yeah.
besides church going men, besides traditional men. What else is there? I don't even know. So
Mhm.
I just kind of took a risk and was just open to explore.
Mm.
Right. And that's the best way to be, right? That's when you get to
For
know
me,
your
it was
body.
Yeah, it was very liberating
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I got to meet a lot of different type of people with some shocking beliefs and some, you know, they were way
Oh,
out there. I
hell yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
know what I was getting myself into. So I met some people who were way out there,
Dipping your toe
but
in that water.
yeah, so
Good out
but
there.
in that, in being able to see so many different beliefs, I saw that some people were really happy and some people were really fulfilled and they were very authentic.
Mhm.
And that also drew me in even more because I wanted to be like that because I had been trained to kind of be at war with my body. Like you got to suppress all these feelings. You got to push them down and repress them because they're bad and they're,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're not a good girl if you have these feelings and if you express them. So I had to, in a sense, reclaim my sexuality and say, belongs to me.
Yeah.
My body belongs to me. It's not bad. There's nothing bad about it. There's nothing bad about these feelings.
Mm.
They are natural, they are normal, and I can express them in healthy ways.
Mhm.
So it just, again, being exposed to a lot of different thoughts, it opened up my mind to think differently for myself and to
Right.
figure out what worked for me.
Right. Well, that's a brilliant way of seeing it that way,
Yeah.
really.
I think there comes a time in your life with all women, doesn't matter how old you are, you come to a realization, hang on a minute, what am I doing?
Mm.
So if you don't do it earlier in life, I think you do it a little bit mid to later in life
I
too.
think you've got, I guess, BT, you've got that wealth of knowledge. When we get a little bit older, it's that what do you call it? What do we say at
Life
work?
experience.
Life experience, exactly. And
Yeah.
therefore we know what we should be chasing, what we should be doing, but we still need that guidance because we're a bit sort of, oh, I don't know, should I? I think
Mhm.
stuff it, go for
Routine.
it.
We just stick to our same routine like Groundhog Day half the
Yeah.
time, don't we? It's like, when are we going to cut the cord or break the chain?
That's it. That's it.
Gosh. So I'm just stuck on the 170 plus dates here, Zen.
Do
Um,
explain.
what patterns did you start noticing in yourself and in men?
Well, I wrote actually a memoir about it, and the first chapter, the first three men I met, I kind of saw myself in them because
Mm-hmm.
one was like coming out of divorce, and he was very like, I feel like I'm cheating. I feel
Right.
like I rushed into this too much, and that was a thought in the back of my head, and also it was a thought where I was like, no, I'm not, So I was fighting with myself about that, and then another one, um, he was so excited to meet me, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, well, why wasn't my husband so excited to be with me? Why was he ignoring me? Why was he neglectful? Why is this guy, the stranger, all
Mm,
into me and my husband wasn't? Do I lose my value? Like, do men get to know me and then they don't want me anymore? So I have all these thoughts.
Mm.
So when I was meeting these men, they were bringing up insecurities. They were bringing up things that I had to deal with at that point. And
right.
then I started to see all kinds of different men. I started to see what I call, like the yes daddy. Like you meet him and you're like, oh yes, daddy, whatever you want, I'll do
Love
it. And then you meet the person and he's like the boy, please. Like, no, you way out there. I'm not even worried about what you want. You're asking for too much, boy, please. So I started to kind of see all these different types of men. I started to see the men who were kind of testing me to see what my boundaries were, the men who were trying to manipulate me and run game on me, the men who were very misogynistic and they thought they were superior and I was down here and they were up here. So there was all these types of men, and I started to journal about them, like
Yeah.
all of these different kinds of guys that I'm seeing and all of these different patterns. Like, you have the men who want a mommy. You have the men who want a maid. You have the men who want a sex worker, and you have some men who want all of that in one, and then,
Ooh.
yeah. And then you have the men who want a therapist. They literally think that you're supposed to be there, you're supposed to fix all their problems and bring them peace. So
Yeah.
I started seeing all of these different patterns. I didn't even know there were all these different patterns. So I was literally writing about all of these different things I was seeing. And then as I'm going through these things, I'm seeing things in myself. I'm seeing how some men are bringing up like daddy issues that I didn't know I had.
Yep.
Abandonment issues I didn't know I had, insecurity, self-worth issues. I kind of mentioned that already. So as I'm going through these dates, I'm saying, oh, okay, I may need to talk about that in therapy.
Yeah.
I may need to read a book on that. I may need to
Yeah.
do some journaling on that because I'm starting to see these different patterns. And so you see me go through this whole healing journey, as I wrote the memoir after. The memoir, the first one has 100 dates in it,
Mhm.
and the second one has about 40 or 50 dates in it. But over a 10-year period, that's really only 17 dates a month. So it doesn't end up being that many. But the fact people are like, you actually wrote about all of them? And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
I
get a free
wrote
coffee
about all of them.
17 times a month.
I wrote my journals about all of them. And I saw, like I said, I learned so much about the way people think, the lies that we tell ourselves. I learned about women actually getting their worth from men rather
Yeah.
than getting their worth from themselves. And that was something I realized, that I had kind of been a pick me. I had kind of been running behind men like, validate me, validate me. I want you to
Yeah.
tell me I'm a good woman, please, please. And
Yep.
then I had to say, oh, that's not healthy. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yep.
no. I've got to validate myself.
Hmm.
I can't be running behind this person for their validation, because the minute they take it away, then I feel worthless.
Yeah.
And they have all this power to manipulate me and to make me jump through hoops to give me this validation. And
Yep.
so I started to see a lot of things that society and my parents and the church had conditioned me to believe that were really not in my best interest.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of growth that I went through, you
Mm.
know.
Well, did you find that you were not attracted to? Did you find that you would attract a certain style of personality from a man?
Mm.
What I found was that as I became more self-aware,
Mhm.
the men that was attracting changed.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in the very beginning, I was attracting a lot of men who were very sexually minded. They were looking for, no strings attached kind of
Yeah.
relationships, which I was in that mindset coming right out of a divorce. I was
Yeah.
like, I want one guy
Yeah.
to be my fling
Yeah.
Booty.
and for him
Yeah.
to be around for a while as I kind of sort my brain out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have all of this, you know, I have all this sexual energy that I have not used in my marriage because my ex-husband was impotent. So I've got all this that I want to express, and I want to have a person I'm comfortable with to express it with. So I was attracting a lot of that. But then as I went through the process, I started to attract a lot more men who were very motivated, very business minded, and very ambitious. And they
Yep.
began to pull, because I was going through that of wanting
Yeah.
to reinvent myself and exit the field that I was in and go into a different field. So as I was changing, yeah, I started to attract very different people. And then when I got into my spiritual era, I started to attract people who were Muslims, and they were, doing the crystals and the chanting and the they were doing all of these metaphysical things. And
Mhm.
and so it was a whole journey. So you see me go through all of these different cycles and changes, where as I change, what I attract changes.
Yeah.
And then there were some men that would kind of pop up to kind of see, did you really change? Because he was kind of a throwback to the old person. And I was like,
Yeah.
that makes you attracted to me? No. And I would get
Swipe.
to see how I had grown, because
Yeah.
that was no longer even something I would, say as I'm talking to him, and I'm thinking before I meet him that he's
Mhm.
one way. And then we get on the date and I'm like, oh, no, 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 I misunderstood. You're not what I expected. And I
Yeah.
don't want to go backwards. No, I've
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
been there. I've already done that. I want to
Yep.
move forward. I
Yeah.
want a different type of man. So yeah, I saw a lot of growth in myself, and I saw, they say your vibe attracts your tribe. I saw that happen again and
Yeah.
again and again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the relationships or the dating experiences got progressively better and better and better and healthier and healthier and healthier
Yeah.
as I was moving through my, healing journey.
That's
Mm.
what I was about to say. As you realized what you actually wanted for yourself is when you went, that's what I need to search for.
Mhm.
And how are you finding most of these dates? Were they like a dating app or?
Yeah, I tried 7 different dating apps. And so I would be on one for a while till I found somebody that I wanted to date for a while.
Yeah.
And then I would pretty much discard that one afterwards, because it was kind of like, in the book, I said that it kind of felt haunted. It kind of felt like I would get on the app and I would remember all of the cat calls and all of the creeps and all of the, so I wanted a fresh start. So
Yeah.
I ended up trying like 7 different sites, and different sites have kind of different personalities,
They do.
and
And they ask
yeah.
and want different things, don't they? There's certain apps that it is just pure sexual sort of thing, which, yes, as you said, right from the start, yes, do that. Um, but yeah, finding that person down the track, I guess it's, yeah, going through those apps to find the right one, really, isn't it?
And
But
having fun in between doing it, right?
having fun in between, nothing wrong with that, right?
So, how can women rediscover their desire after years of suppression, emotionally or physically?
I think everyone's journey could be different. For me, I think that I saw the effects that it was having on me of, I was overeating, I wasn't taking care of myself, I had lost my self-esteem, and I wanted to feel vibrant again and feel beautiful, and I wanted to really invest in myself. And I knew that part of that was regaining that sensuality because I had suppressed it for so long.
Mm.
So for me, part of it was just like, in a sense, reclaiming my whole womanhood, all of that. So I think that for some women, it could be the self-care route when they start really caring for themselves. Maybe they start doing massages or mani pedis or facials, and then they're like feeling so beautiful. And now they want to express this, the sensual part of themselves. They want to express the
Yeah.
Yeah.
sexual part of themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some women, it could be a self-esteem thing. Some women, it could be a, I'm so tired of the boring, intimacy that I had in
Yeah.
my past relationships. I want to get out and have a little more adventurous,
Yeah.
experience. So I think that there are many different reasons and many different ways. I think some women begin to explore it through just going to groups, where they're talking about things. It could be a sister circle, it could be, an online group. They have some spicy online groups where they
Oh, yeah.
discuss a whole lot of things and they post a lot of things, and
We like
that
that.
could be sticking your toe in the water and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of making it kind of normalized for you to have these conversations and to feel like this is something that you have permission to do. So I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of different ways that women can, try
Yeah.
Yeah.
or get ready to do it. And then sometimes they're like, "Oh, that was too much for me. Let me go over here." So yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Definitely.
So let's talk romantic reinvention. What makes the second act of life sexier, wiser, and wilder than the first?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, again, giving myself permission to be authentic and
Mm.
not believing that my value was wrapped up in this purity culture or this abstinence culture or this repression of my sensuality and sexuality. Realizing that I have a brain,
Mm-hmm.
I have morals, and I have my standards and expectations, and that's good enough for me.
Mhm.
And so when I gave myself permission, not only did it open up a lot of experiences, a lot of pleasure, a lot of freedom, that I didn't have the guts to do when I was younger. And I was worried about, are people going to think I'm a good woman? Are they going to think I'm a
Yeah.
bad mom? Are they going to think I'm, irresponsible or whatever? I was so worried about them, whoever them is.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Yep.
once I got to the point of, them is not going to make me happy. Them is making me miserable. And they probably aren't even really that worried about me. They've got their own issues.
Mm-hmm.
So when I stopped worrying about, you know, there's so many messages in America. I don't know about where you live, but it's like, if you have too many buttons open, you're a slut.
Mm.
If you wait too long, or if you
Yeah.
smile too much, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, if you twitch when you walk too much, it's like you're walking this tightrope. I don't know if you guys had the Barbie movie come out, but there was this
Yes.
great monologue in the Barbie movie about, all the things that women have to do to be approved. And then
Yeah.
still, it's always like at any moment that approval can be snatched away,
Yeah.
any moment. And so when I just stopped worrying about the approval, the second half became so much more fun because it was all about being authentic,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to have no regrets, wanting to really live my life, and just to feel what I could feel, whatever that was, whether it was love, whether it was passion, whether it was, new experiences, just that made it so much better, because before it was all about everybody else.
Yeah,
Everybody
don't give a
else,
shit
not
about
me.
anyone else. It's not about them.
No,
This is your life.
and it
Yeah.
makes
Right.
so much sense. Like, we get one go at this. Apparently, there's
Yes.
plenty of views on how many goes we get, but my view is we get one go at this. And we don't normally realize it until we hit our 40s and 50s going, what are we doing? Like, we're trying to please everybody else to please ourselves, yet we should be pleasing ourselves. And
All the rest will just fall into place,
the
doesn't it?
Karens can, go get nodded,
There you go. Okay.
technically.
Well, speaking of 40s and 50s,
Okay.
what's one thing women in their 40s or 50s need to unlearn about sex and dating?
Well, I think there could be a lot of things that they need to unlearn. I think that, again, tying their worth to, people get this message of, if I am sexually active, that means that I have less value,
Mm.
and a man is going to worry about my body count. And, I kind of got to, hey, don't ask me about my body count. You know what I mean? It's not your business.
Yeah.
So I think just having those boundaries and standards where you say, my body belongs to me,
Mm.
and I don't have to be approved of by anybody, any man or any person. They have the right to have whatever opinions that they want to have, but that doesn't have to do anything with what I do.
Yeah.
That has nothing, it has no control over me.
Yeah.
So really just, again, unlearning this idea of, I have to live my life to be approved of by this man or this society or this my family, whatever. It's private.
Yeah.
It is.
It's for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I think that so many women, I did a workshop, and one of the things that I gave the woman was a deed. And basically it was a deed to themselves.
Yeah.
And basically it said, I am so and so, this is my life, and I am in control of my mind, my identity, my
Yeah.
feel. It had all of these things that it listed, and we actually read it like, this is my deed to me, and I own me. I am in control of me. I don't have to get anybody's permission.
No.
No.
And a lot of the women who were reading it were like, this is the first time I ever thought that I'm allowed to take up space. And that's another thing. Women are taught to shrink and to
Mm.
be quiet and to keep their thoughts and their feelings and even their desires sexually
Yeah.
silent.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I told the women in this workshop, I was like, when you were growing in your mother's belly, if you didn't take up space, you would die. Now, you were
Wow.
able to do that as a baby, as a, embryo, grow as big as you needed to grow to be as healthy as you needed to grow. If you were a tree outside, you would grow as big as you
Yeah.
could.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
as a human being, we're sitting here shrinking.
Mm.
We're sitting here making ourselves small. We're sitting here silencing ourselves. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
You were born to take up space. It is your birthright to take up space. Take up space.
Well
Speak your
said.
truth. Yeah.
I
Speak
love
your
that.
truth and live your life. Yeah. So
As you start to go through menopause, that sort of stuff just comes out the mouth.
It comes
Anyway.
flying out. Oh, does it? Yes.
No warning. It's like, oh, no.
I didn't.
That one.
I didn't realize my lips were moving. God damn it.
true.
It's true. Oh, how do you balance sacred sensuality with no bullshit practicality?
I think for me, I don't have compartments. Like, my sexuality and my authenticity go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I don't separate that this is profane if I do this or say this. You know what I mean? So I that was one thing that I had to tell people. I might curse, and
Yeah.
I still am a person who is a spiritual person.
Yeah.
I might have, a friend with benefits, and I still am a person who believes deeply in spirituality. Those two things are not contradictory. They may be contradictory in your world, but
Yeah.
your belief system and my belief system are not the same.
Yeah.
Because in my belief system, it is natural and normal to express yourself. And that's something, again, that we were given the ability to do, even as children, to be able to. Sometimes children will curse. Sometimes children will cry. Sometimes they
Yeah.
will yell. Not to say that we should not have any control over ourselves, but we should express ourselves.
Yeah.
And Sometimes, there's those words, those how can you put it? Those four-letter words can be sometimes very effective in expressing yourself.
Yes,
And
they can.
they can release a lot of tension that you need to get off your chest.
Feels good, yell it out every now and then. A couple of times a day.
Just not at work, mainly.
No.
Well,
Right.
when the customer's there.
No. So just the truth, biggest dating red flag that still tempted you?
Biggest dating red flag that still tempted me. I guess that would be kind of okay. So if I met a man who was really articulate and really confident and cocky, but I saw a little bit of I won't say misogyny, but a little bit of that patriarchal tradition in him. I sometimes would want to explore that a little more
Yeah.
because I would be so drawn to like his confidence and his masculinity. Like I like really masculine men, but sometimes those masculine men can borderline be toxic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted them to be very masculine, but not where they're wanting me to shrink and me to be, the little woman who be quiet,
Yeah.
who's quiet, so I would be still drawn to those guys and I would have to see, okay, is he on this side of the line where he's safe and tolerable, or is he over the line?
Yeah.
And I would want to explore that. So to me, that could be a red flag.
Yeah.
That could be a red flag, definitely.
Mhm.
But that's the kind of men I was raised around. I was raised around very masculine men, who were providers, who, fixed stuff, and they had deep bass voices and they smelled like men and they had rough hands and, all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so, nothing against the metrosexual men who are a little softer and gentler, because that's got a place too. But I've always been drawn to that macho man's man kind of thing. And
That's you.
yeah,
That's
you have to be. I have to be careful to not excuse away things that I've learned are not excusable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And each their own, right?
Yeah, that's it. We're all different.
Everybody has a place.
So,
Right.
sexiest lesson you learnt the hard way?
Sexiest lesson I learned the hard way.
I didn't mean to laugh.
X-rated.
I'm like, here we go. All right. Yeah, let it all out.
There was a man who came in and out of my life, and I had a lot of questions about him because he didn't seem to always have his story straight. And there was a part of my intuition that was saying, he's lying to you, but I ignored it because the sex was so good and he was so beautiful. And I would keep questioning him and hoping that he would get his story straight. And I would keep believing in him because he was very convincing. But in the end, I did find out that he was in a relationship, and that was the suspicion that I had at the time. But he spent so much time with me. There was a part of me saying, "There's no way he could be in a relationship." We would go on vacations together, and he would spend the night at my house, and I'm thinking, no, it's just it's something else, So, but he was in a relationship, so that was. Yeah. My intuition was telling me he's lying,
It
but
was.
I didn't listen because, like I said, because of the time we spent together, because the sex was so good, and because it was so beautiful.
You needed to get that though, so you got that, right? You needed to get that. You needed it for yourself.
Those cobwebs went around for a while. That's what you needed. That's
Yeah.
What's something people think is spiritual, but it's actually just toxic as
F.
I think a lot of things are spiritual. I mean, a lot of things that people think are spiritual are toxic. I think that judgment in itself, people think it's spiritual, but it's not. I think that this whole purity culture is very toxic.
Mm.
You know, the idea that a woman's whole worth is wrapped up in her purity, and as soon as she loses that, she has no value. I think that there's so many things that can happen to a person. You can be, you know, assaulted, you can get divorced, you know, things like that. And purity culture says, well, that woman is worthless.
Mm.
So I think that even this whole idea of women were created for men, like the whole Adam and Eve story, you know what I mean? Like, a woman was created literally and brought to man and made from the rib of a man. I think that is
No.
toxic because,
Yeah.
you know, we know that every person on this earth came through the womb of a woman,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and and we know that a man has never created a human being, never held a baby in his womb. That's never happened in the history of humanity. So this whole idea that women are supposed to be subservient and that man is the creator and man is above women. You know, we all know that women can put up with more than men, just even giving birth, just even pregnancy, just that by itself.
That's enough.
Yeah, if a man had to do that, I don't think we'd have any people walking around here on earth because they are babies about colds a lot of
Yeah, I
times.
was
You know what I'm
about to
saying?
say that.
Toothache.
Funny nose. Oh my God, it's the end of the world.
I'm
Yeah.
dying.
So yeah, so I just feel like there's a lot of like I said, a lot of that bow down and submit. And a lot of the messages in the Bible are so misconstrued, you know, and so they're very, very toxic. And this whole idea of forgiving everybody for everything,
Mm.
you know what I mean? But then on the other hand, you can't, as a woman, be forgiven for anything. You know, it's like it's like your husband can be forgiven for everything, because you're supposed to be the good wife and you know, support him, but as a woman, you know, you're supposed to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of double standards that I think people think are religious but are toxic, very
And
toxic.
this needs to change, right? This needs
Oh,
to
of course,
change
yeah.
stat.
And even the idea of shame, you know, I think that a lot of people have grown up with shame, and
Yeah.
shame is toxic. You know,
Yeah.
there's a difference between taking accountability and feeling shame.
Yeah, true.
Big difference between those two.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Well, what's been the most unexpected joy of dating over 40? The sex. Sorry.
Yeah, sex is better.
Because
I
I
mean,
think you,
I think
You know what
what
you want.
yeah, by the time you get to 40, you should know what you want in the
Yeah.
bedroom. If you can't find it with who you're with, then you're not with the right one. I don't know. Is that
Mm.
bad for saying
No,
that?
you let
Sorry, take it away then. It's me over
yeah,
talking.
I mean, for me, I guess really the most beautiful thing for me is that I was trained that I had to give, 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 give,
Yeah.
give, 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 and then maybe he was going to think that I was worthy of showering me with, you know, praise and gifts back. But I had to be the one that did first, and I had to constantly be giving. And what I've learned is that it doesn't have to work that way. I could not tell you the last time I cooked for a man. I could not tell you the last time I cleaned up after a man. And I can tell you that I've gotten more gifts, more vacations, more nice stuff, more nice treatment
Yeah.
from men that just wanted my company, and it might not have even been sexual on that particular day. You
Yeah.
know, it might have just been us going out and playing pool or going to the movies, or, you know, having a conversation, walking, you know, through the park, walking next to a fountain, whatever. But they were so into me and not what I could do for them,
Yeah.
that they were taking me out and giving me things and showering me with attention, and I didn't even realize that that world existed,
Yeah.
because I saw women before me, my mother, my grandmother, my aunts, always constantly pouring into the men, and maybe the man gave her some flowers once or twice a year, maybe he gave her a necklace, maybe he took her out on a date on her birthday, maybe.
Probably didn't even give her
You
an
know,
orgasm.
you're right. But just to have the whole thing flip to where it is you,
Yeah.
not your work, it's not your service, it's not your servitude, but it's
Yeah.
literally you that is being valued. That was like the most mind-blowing thing to me, that these men, you know, weren't even asking me like, when you gonna cook for me? When you gonna come over to my house and clean up? When you that didn't even come out of their mouth. Like that was not even a thought. It's like, man, I love being around you. I love our conversations. I love, you know, how you encourage me and you help me figure out things that I'm dealing with in my business, whatever, whatever it was, just conversation,
Yeah.
just presence. So that was it. There is I saw a TikTok video and it was like, I get paid to exist. And it was almost to that level, like getting, in a sense, paid to exist
Ah, yeah.
just because of the experience and the wisdom and the personality that I
Yeah.
have. And then
Yeah.
that word just, let me take you out. Let me do this for you. Let me do that for you. Da, 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 da. That was the most mind blowing thing that I had ever experienced. That was new to me. And I know that there are probably women who've had that their whole life. I didn't have it till after I got divorced the second time.
Yeah. Well, so women that have it all their life, don't go numb. You're lucky, right? And look, these men are probably doing that to you because you brought out a good part in them too. You made them feel
Right.
good, made them feel, that sort of worthiness that, they need to too. But one thing younger women should not rush into that you wish you knew. What is one
Marriage. They
marriage?
should not rush into marriage. They should not
Mm-hmm.
rush into motherhood. They should really, really, really evaluate the person that they're with and really look and see, how does he deal with conflict? How does he deal with stress?
Yes.
Because one of the things that I have seen in my life is that some men, they make a lot of promises and they may even be doing a great job at the level that they're at. But when the tide rises,
Mm.
they have this idea of their depth, their strength, their maturity. And I have seen many a man fall apart because his idea, it's kind of like the guy who thinks, oh man, I could run out there and play that football game even though I haven't played it since high school. He's
Yeah.
got this, and he's confident that he can do it.
Yeah.
But as soon as he starts running out there, he's got a Charlie horse, you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't even last 2 minutes. So I mean, and so she, I believe, has to be very judicious
Mm.
and say, what is his skill set? What is his level and ability to handle things? Because you're not going to be dealing with him just on his good days, just
Yeah.
on his happy days. You're going to be
Mhm.
dealing with him when the kids are crying
Yeah.
and when the bills aren't paid and when there's a pile of laundry in the corner and when the in-laws came over unexpectedly. There's going to be all these things, and they're minor things sometimes,
Yeah.
but some men, when there's all these minor things going on, they can't deal.
Yeah.
And as women, we kind of just, we put on our big girl panties and we just deal with it.
It's got to
But a
be
lot of
done.
men don't. They go and find another woman, they go drink, they go do drugs, they go lock themselves in their man cave and tune everybody out. They do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's something that you really, really, really have to try to your best to kind of figure out, what is his true capacity, what is his true depth,
Yeah.
and can he really handle fatherhood, being a husband, these kind of things, or
Yeah.
is he just thinking he can, but he's not really ready?
Yeah. 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 Very true. Well, how did sex, intimacy, and self-pleasure evolve for you over the time? I have to ask. I don't know.
Well, for me, when I was younger, again, like I said, I was taught that sex was something you saved till marriage. So I had a high sex drive, but I would work out a lot. I would distract myself. I would go to church. I would pray. I would do all these other things. And then I got married, and then sex was more about him than me. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yep.
And that was not what I was expecting. I was expecting to have much more romantic sex, much more enjoyable sex, and it wasn't that.
Yeah.
And then I got divorced and I had some great sex. And I even had great sex in my second marriage for the first 2 years. And then he started having health issues that he didn't want to deal with.
Yeah.
So that was something I wasn't prepared for my husband to say, ah, I'm impotent. You got to deal with it. Our sex life is
Yeah.
over. I'm not going to the doctor. You know,
Ah.
something I was not prepared for. And so again, I was back in the, how do I cope with a sexless marriage? And how do I cope with feeling like I am not enough to make him want to fix this? You
Yeah.
know? And so then coming out of that, it was like, let me have sex, let me enjoy it. And then I
Yeah.
learned I was multi-orgasmic. At 43, I learned
Stop
that.
it.
I had no idea
Stop
prior to that. No idea. I had no idea. So that was a mind-blowing experience to learn all the things that my body could do and I could
Yes.
feel that
That was
I
a
had
built-up
never
abuse.
experienced
Yeah.
before.
You
Yeah.
would have shook the paint off the walls.
Guilt trip.
Yes. So it was there were so many things that I learned and tried, and even I got into tantra for a little while. I got
Yeah.
into it. So I experienced a lot of things that I probably never would have tried at a younger age because
Exactly.
the men, again, that I was with were very traditional and very,
Yep.
I won't say
Missionary.
stuffy, but
Yeah.
they just had their way of doing things, and it was their way that was important and
Yeah.
not my pleasure, right?
Yep.
So I began to look for a different type of man, a man who was more of a giver, a man who was much more like he took pride in making sure that I got mine first. You know what I'm saying? And that everything was reciprocal.
Yeah.
And so that was something that I didn't even know I needed to look for.
Yeah.
You know, didn't even know was important.
Because you didn't
Um,
have it. You hadn't had it.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So, and that's when you get that. It's intoxicating. It's intoxicating to have a
Yeah.
person who really cares about your pleasure and really is doing everything, even to the point of like maybe they're massaging you, maybe they're setting the mood, maybe they're the ones putting candles out and putting on the soft music and bringing the wine, and you know what I mean. They want an experience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it was. All of that has evolved a lot for me because there are men who really care about that. They take pride in, in a sense, being the best that she's
Mm-hmm.
ever had. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And blowing her mind and making her, let me see if I can do something different this time. Let me see if I can curl your toes this time. Let me see if I
Yeah.
can make that moan longer. So
Yeah.
they're people who they that's part of their identity. That's part of their enjoyment. And
Yeah.
that's something that I didn't even know existed.
The giving.
Um, yeah, really being a giver, really being
Mm-hmm.
a giver. And then for me, that meant that I raised my game up and I was looking at ways I could be even better. And then here we're
Yeah,
almost
you're doing the
competing to give each other
Yeah.
the best experience. It's like, okay, so that was a whole nother thing that I didn't even know could happen, So there was just amazing to me. It was, like I said, really amazing and really freeing, and then also the intimacy that happens when you have two people who are really concerned about each other's emotional, mental, physical, sexual pleasure. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? And you're bonding in a lot of ways, even if you're not in a quote committed relationship, because that's a whole nother thing that I learned. Titles, okay, I'm gonna say this for me. Titles don't mean a lot,
No.
you know,
yeah.
because I've been treated better, like I've said multiple times on this podcast, by men I didn't have a title with, and I was treated by the men who bought me a ring and
Mm-hmm.
got down on one knee and got in front of the church and said, "I'm going to be there for you forever."
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's
Yep.
it. That's
so
it.
yeah.
Well, look, we could talk forever, honestly. This has gone so quick. Um, we're just going to reach out to everybody how to follow you. So if you want to just run through some of the many things that you do, for people to get on and just try and get that multiple orgasm that you're talking about, that'd be really great.
Well,
Now, Kelly.
my name is Zen Ase. It's on the screen, Zenase. So if you actually Google Zen Ase, it should pull up my social media. It should pull up everything. My podcast is called the Zen Energy Podcast, or you can just type Zenergy, Zennurgy. So I've got about 140 episodes out.
Wow.
If you go on Amazon, I do have 5 books on Amazon. I do have my 2 memoirs. So this is the personal healing journey I was telling you about. This is the first one that I wrote.
Honey
All right.
guppies. I love
Plenty of
that.
Guppies and Other Dating Misadventures.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a poetry prose memoir. And then I actually followed it up with one that's focused on my that man that I told you about who gave me best sex and was beautiful and ended
Yeah.
up lying to me. It focuses on a narcissistic relationship. So it kind of goes into
Right.
like 80 manipulative things that he did that I learned in therapy
Wow.
that he was doing to me,
80.
as well as 80. There's a index at the back of 80 manipulative techniques that he used. I mean, he was a master manipulator. Yeah. So this goes into 3 more years, and then it focuses on narcissism as well. And so I also have a children's book. I have a guided journal. I have a planner. So those are all on Amazon. These books are free on Kindle Unlimited. All right, all of them. And you also can listen. I'm working on the audiobook right now. So you can actually listen to the first 15 chapters of the first memoir
Mhm.
on the Zen Energy podcast. So along with all the other episodes I have 15 of the chapters because it's a 26 chapter book. So you can actually listen to over almost half of it
Yeah.
on the
Okay.
podcast.
And
Yeah.
bestsellers, like that just stands right out like bestsellers. You're a
Yeah,
busy
this
lady.
one, the memoir actually debuted at #1 in poetry when I
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
#1 in poetry. And it's actually, I released it around Valentine's Day of 2022.
Mhm.
It's still on the bestsellers list now. It pops on and off in
Wow.
poetry, but it's still on the bestsellers list. So it's been on there on and off for 3 years.
Oh, go you good thing.
That's saying something, guys.
Yeah.
Seriously, jump on.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, massive thanks to you so much for giving us the real, the raw, and the radically honest version of growth, which many people need to listen to.
Absolutely. If your second act is looking like your soft girl era, you might be doing it wrong. Hit follow, leave us a spicy 5-star review, and go chase your goddamn freedom. Thanks again.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure meeting you and speaking to you on the mic today.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so grateful.
Yeah,
We're gonna-
all the best.
We're going to
All the
get out
best.
and let's get our Zen going.
Get our Zen on.
Multiple orgasms.
You need to do that.
Yeah, clearly, don't I?
Have a great night, Zen.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.